If you've watched Gardening Australia, you know how passionate we are about plants and biodiversity. We've featured revegetation projects from all around the country, shown you stories of people protecting forests and our wild places. Well, today we're diving into a re-veg project of a different kind. I've come to the northernmost suburb of Sydney, Palm Beach.
Hello, hello.
Hello!
Is this the place? Oh, it's happening. I'm excited.
That's right, underwater gardening. Are you ready?
I am ready. Adriana Verges, Ziggy Marzinelli and Derrick Cruz are seaweed
This is
scientists
your life jacket?
working with UNSW and Sydney Institute of Marine Science. And I'm jumping on board to learn all about their mission to restore and protect the underwater forests and meadows off Sydney's coastline. From Palm Beach, we're heading north of Sydney to the waters around Lion Island.
That one's scratching.
This is one of the locations where the scientists harvest crayweed for the re-veg sites in Sydney.
So Lion Island is one of the first crayweed populations just north of Sydney. So it's kind of, logistically, it's one of the easiest ones to access.
And as a site, why is this site special?
So I think it's because it's outside of Sydney. This is one of the few populations that actually remained healthy and didn't disappear because it's really outside of that polluted area that was, the water was really bad back in the day.
Crayweed disappeared in the 70s, 80s, and we think it's because of sewage pollution. Sewage was disposed of directly on the shoreline. But then in the 90s, we got deep ocean outfalls installed. So when that happened, the water quality along the coast improved dramatically, but crayweed just never came back. But because it's happening underwater, it went unnoticed.
Wow. And the alternative is basically flat, sort of like bare rock.
So our project has been trying to find a way to bring it back.
Now, why is crayweed so important?
Well, crayweed essentially creates underwater forests, underwater trees. These seaweeds, they capture large amounts of carbon, they photosynthesize and they turn it into oxygen, and they create habitat and shelter for hundreds of species. And they're a unique set of species. And in particular, we call it crayweed because crayfish like to live on it. So wherever there's crayweed, there's a lot of crayfish and abalone. So by bringing crayweed back, we're not just bringing back one species, but an entire ecological community. Well, crayweed is in shallow water in Sydney and wherever there's lots of waves, essentially. So it loves big waves, big wave action. The holdfast is the bit that the crayweed uses to attach itself to the rock.
Like a claw.
It's like a claw, exactly, and it's made out of lots of these thin filaments, and it's incredibly strong, and that's how it can sustain these big wave actions. It's really quite remarkable.
When we are collecting, we make sure to collect each little tree of crayweed that we collect far away from the others so that we sort of minimize disturbing the natural populations where we're collecting from. And then the second thing that we do as well is we try to mix it up and collect from different sites. So we want to sort of mix up different populations so that when they reproduce, you have this nice sort of like genetic mix in the populations we're restoring.
Nice one, Ziggy.
Big bag.
So this is a crayweed here, and this is this clamp, the holdfast. And these vesicles, these are like little buoyancy bubbles that enable it to stand up and float in the water. And these vesicles help it to collect sunlight because just like plants in your garden, crayweed needs the sun to photosynthesize. Aren't they stunning? Oh, more crayweed coming.
So for us, it's important to get the whole holdfast off. What we do is we just go under with a knife and just kind of
And it pops
flick it
off.
like that, and then it comes off.
So that's like your shovel.
That's it. And there's hundreds of animals, and they're microscopic, so we can't see them now. They're living in and around this holdfast. And then, this is early adult, like a young, you know, equivalent of a 20-year-old, let's say.
20-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, ready to go out on the town.
That's right.
With the crayweed collected, our planting site is Freshwater, a seaside suburb on Sydney's northern beaches. And the local community are on board to lend a hand.
We planted here around 18 months ago, and today we're doing a top-up. Maybe form little teams and start collecting the data.
Many actually come to the site and help us hands-on. They help us collect data that we use to understand what is the baseline, the health of the condition of the plants we're using to restore this place. So that's awesome.
We've learned so much from the scientists, and we get to work with other members of the community. So yeah, it's really exciting to be part of rebuilding an underwater forest.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of grazing, so we'll give it a 3.
It's just exciting. I like to see things coming back, because we have to attack this problem of, biodiversity loss from all angles. Just attack it as many ways we can.
So what do we got here?
Well, this one is a girl, I think. Each individual is either a male or a female, and what we want when we're planting is to have roughly half-half, right?
And how do you tell the difference between a male and a female?
So basically, there's these reproductive conceptacles. The females are more bumpy and the bumps are more round. We're pretty sure that this would be a female.
Female, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does feel.
Yeah.
It feels
bumpy,
really bumpy.
Right? Yeah.
So that's where the eggs are.
Exactly.
The process that we're going through, removing them, bringing them here, stresses them, and they don't know what's going on. As soon as we put them back in the water, they think, okay, death might be around the corner, so the first thing they want to do is reproduce. They think this might be our last shot at reproducing, and it kind of works in our favor, right? They'll essentially be having underwater sex. They're little babies that attach to the reef. That's what's exciting, because that's what's going to contribute to the future population. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is creating something that we can attach it to the mat with.
Let them get attached.
You can each grab a plant and swim towards the site, and we'll meet you out there.
Every time I do this, I get on a high. I love doing it. It's so much fun. It's like being a mermaid, because you get to take the crayweed down and snorkel down and swim down to a diver and hand them a crayweed, and then they tie it and plant it to grow and reproduce.
We use cable ties and we attach them to plastic mats. They're made of plastic because there's just nothing else that will put up with the wave exposure. So the power of the waves and the ocean is tremendous. But then what we do is, after we finish with the restoration, we remove all plastic from the area.
This is something else. And it's like, it's working. This is working.
You know, when you give nature a helping hand, like we're doing with crayweed, its ability to kind of help itself and to take off is absolutely remarkable.
One of the interesting things that we're trying to do here is not only restore these forests for now, but also that they last into the future. So we know that the climate is changing. We know that the water temperatures are going to be warmer. So can we actually find the combination of good genotypes from warm populations with good microbes to actually get sort of like a super crayweed that can sustain future environmental conditions?
It's so special, swimming around and seeing the garden under the water. It's been a real privilege today to be with Ziggy and Adriana and Derrick and experience this regeneration, this project that's making a difference, and the whole local community's getting on board. Doesn't get much better.